Right. All right. So, so this is longtime friend Becca, known for more years than I think that either of us want to say. It reminds me that where actually both of our birthdays are coming up. So Becca, mom, grandma, business owner, and we're going to chat about resilience, getting out of our own way, and what that looks like and where we've been. So, Becca, if you want to take a moment just to kind of introduce yourself.
Yep. Becca, I'm San Diego. I've known Summer forever. Rough childhood growing up. I was a teen mom, 5 kids now, and a grandma, like she said, a glamma, I like to say. Really hard childhood, and teenage was hard. So there's just some things we're going to go over, and I'm really excited that Summer has me to be her guest, just to show how somebody with most lowest self-confidence skyrocketed now, and just being so happy where I'm at, and just wanted to share you guys a little testimony or a little about me.
Yeah, I love seeing the success that you have and watching you grow over the years too, because I think especially through the journey on Facebook that we get to kind of see each other from afar and watch the different things that I know that both of us have been into, and watching that evolve and watching our lives evolve as well, like watching some of the things that I know that you've been going through, and just seeing you take everything with that other side, that empowering side that you pull towards. So if you want to speak a little bit towards that what that's taken for you to pull into that empowerment into yourself.
I think once you hit the bottom, you hit the bottom, and there's either you give up or you got to push. And I think a lot of the times, I was married at 16. So I think a lot of that time, I put myself last. I was in an abusive marriage. I had 3 kids with him. Basically, it was his way or no way in a way. And so therefore, I was nothing. It was obsolete in his eyes and to everything. And I had no confidence. It took everything from me. I was just always getting put down. The same with my stepdad that raised me, and my home environment there. It was just really hard. He was a great man, but it was just times where he had problems controlling his anger. So a lot of times, so it was a rough childhood. And then long story short about that, it's just made me who I am. All those negative and put downs and everything just made me feel so crappy. And then it's like, enough is enough. I need to stop feeling sorry for myself and quit letting people fill my head up with all that negative and just start thinking positive. And that's what I've started doing. And honestly, say I'm 43 years old, going to be 44. And sadly, it's taken me that long since I've been 41, I think, is when I finally put my foot down. I'm like, enough is enough being so miserable and hard on myself and not being confident. And I'm like, I got to do something. And then also remarried now, thank God, out of that abusive relationship, and have a special needs son with autism. So, and other developmental delays. It's been a struggle, but it's like, I can't let that define me. I can't let that, his limitations, stop me from getting where I need to be a positive role model for him. I need to, I can't let that depress me, his limitations. So it's just, I had to keep pushing through, like Summer said, the resilience. I have that. And I'm just so thankful and humbled that God gave me a child like him, that I'm able to be strong person that I am and be his biggest advocate, because it's also showed me and helped me grow into the woman I've become, because now I want to help other people that had the same, abusive marriage or sexually abused, or a special needs parent that needs help, because I'm able to give them, help them in that kind of situation and give them my testimony and be able to help them, because I didn't have nobody, to be honest. I didn't share a lot of things with anybody. and that's been hard, carrying that for God, 40 some years. It's been, and I have my tribe of women, and getting to thank God for social media because it's been such a huge outlet for so many things, and reconnecting, like me and Summer reconnected. I think on MySpace years ago.
Yeah.
Um, oh God, that was so long ago. But it's just been such an awesome opportunity having these platforms that you can see and learn from other people what's helped them. And now I'm able to do the same thing. And it feels so good to give back and help people.
What was something that was defining that has helped you? Like, is there a go-to for you that when you're starting to feel maybe that pull to the past, or something's coming up that might have previously been something to get to you? Do you have something that you go to now that like helps you kind of pull right out of that?
I do, and thank God for Facebook Time Hop, or whatever they call it now, memories, because I could see so much progression.
Mm-hmm.
And when I start feeling down, it's like back in the early days of Facebook, we always said how we felt. And it was like, I don't know what the hell we were thinking half the time, excuse my language. But it's so neat to go back and say, God, I was really negative. I was really in a bad situation, and just seeing that progress. I journal a lot. I write a lot. So when I start feeling that, I look at the things that helped me get through, and that really helped me. Okay, I'm no, this has happened before. What am I going to do? I'm stuck. I feel like I'm hitting a brick wall, especially with my son going with this education. That was just 10 years fighting the school district. I'm like, what, I just want to give up. It was really bad with my son. He got violent too. And I was at the point where I'm like, God, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's hard being a mom. That's what I think it is. It's just me writing things down and going back to like, okay, I didn't give up. I persevered. I did what I needed to do to survive this. I need to be an example to my family and to my children, and mainly my children. I don't want them to give up. And that's the only thing that's kept me, is just like, I have kids and I have to be an example, and I have to be the strongest person they know. I
Yeah.
have to be there for my kids. And that's what it is. It's just like, I look at how far I came, and I'm like, I'm not that person no more.
Yeah.
If I could get through everything I got through in my childhood and my first marriage, I could handle anything. I'm not a victim. I'm no more. I'm a survivor of multiple things. And I think that's what gets me in helping people. That's my outlet.
Yeah.
If I start feeling crappy, like, oh God, I can't do, you know what? I put myself on the back burner, and I'm going to go help. I see other people's posts or check in with people, and it feels so good to help other people. And I think that's my biggest thing that I go to, is just being, okay, forget about my problems for a minute. Let me help somebody else.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing I love to do.
Yeah. I feel you on that. Like, it's definitely a passion that I share as well. And something that as a child, like one of the first things I ever wanted to do was be a therapist. And then life like kind of pulled different directions, and like it's is an interesting circle to come back to like where I am now. So it's like that, being able to talk to someone and hear what's going on, and like just sometimes just that chatting back and forth, and being able to hear that like you're not alone. Like, I mean, I don't know, like for me, like I struggled with feeling alone for a good chunk of my life, even though there was people around it. I didn't feel that. And it took major trauma to have it, to understand that like, hey, you're really not alone. There really are other people out there that I can turn and go to, because it was very easy to feel like that wasn't there. And yeah, and if, like now with social media, with the connections that I've made with between social media and people like in person, like there's somebody there. And it's allowing myself to have that chance to talk to somebody, and not putting myself in that alone box that I definitely used to do. So like when we had chatted before, and like knowing like hearing you say that I am enough, like that in itself like is such a big pull to you know a testament of who you are and who you want to be, and who you keep growing to be. Like I am such a firm believer that like everything that we go through, we have an opportunity to grow through. And that's something that has personally helped me, is that pull towards growth. And like hearing everything they're saying is that, I can tell that that has been a pull for you too. It's like that, seeing those memories that are there, you see the growth, you see where you've expanded, you see what you want to continue embodying. And that is a very, very resilient place to stand in, and that thriving place within yourself. Like, so it's cool to hear that that's where you're giving back as well.
I love seeing your growth too. Doing everything. It's so cool to have people that we grew up with, and we've all, I mean, I seen your, downs, we've all, both of us, and I think it's so amazing that how much growth. And I think, and it's so, the social media platforms, yes, there is a lot of bad stuff, but there's also so much good stuff. And there's so much out there for people to have at their hands. Whereas when we were teenagers, we didn't have anything. Our friends weren't friends. They were all backstabbers back in the day. You know that.
Yeah. And thinking about, sometimes like I look at some of the stuff that like our kids go through with having social media. So like, there, and, there are those downsides that are there. But yes, there are those upsides, because for us, it was like, hey, you're getting calls on the phone and somebody's like, hey, like there's those threats. And it's like, who was this? I don't know. We don't have caller ID yet. Like, I have no idea who that was. *69 became the best thing ever. And then when the phones had names, like, was like, whoa. Because yeah, like junior high and high school, there were some really hard points in there where, like, me personally, I transferred schools, mid senior year, because it was so hard. And I came back, to the school that I started out with. And, at hindsight, like that was such a dramatic moment and change, to do. Like, who does that when you're there? And by choice, it was like, nope. But I knew for my mental health at that point, the one thing I could do and I could control was changing schools. There's part of me that looks back that's like, oh, if I would have stuck it out there. But like, I'm also of the mindset that like, I believe things have their purpose. And I can't look back and go, I should have changed that, because that's not going to do me any good. Like, I switched schools for my mental health, because if I would have continued on the school that I was in, I don't know what would have happened. I felt that, and I knew that change needed to happen. So yeah, having like this place where we can come onto social media and connect to people who are in similar places that are uplifting, and that I love. Like, there are definitely times that I see things that I'm like, oh, I can't handle that energy, and I'm going to scroll past that. But being able to get into groups and being able to like connect to certain people, is really, really, I mean, it's a great thing if it's used in that way, and having that perspective that it's a great thing. Of course there's the downside.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing, because you never know what that other person's going through on that other end, and they could be like, we're all so good hiding our feelings, still to this day, hold it in. We're, like Robin Williams, nobody knew he had a problem, with his mental health, and just, you never know, you could just brighten someone's day just by checking on them, yeah. And it's just with having this at our fingertips, thank God. And like you said, it has a lot of bad sides, because I've been on the side of that too with my teenagers. But it's just so much positivity, and especially now with everything that's gone on in this world, where everybody's like coming together, and I love seeing that. And it's just an amazing opportunity that we have. So many of us are lucky to have Facebook, it's not really Instagram really, but Facebook mainly, for all the groups and everything we have. And it's just such an awesome, they save people's lives, these groups and these mentoring people and talking to people, connecting with strangers that have been through the same things as you. You could take away from them and they could take away from you. So that's what I think is really important. And just in life itself is just, you could draw that confidence off somebody else. And if you could see how they overcame things, if they could do it, I could do it. You know what I mean?
And that's, I am a lover of like an underdog story. I'm a lover of people like who have overcome things that, somebody's going to look at and go, oh my gosh, like that, the whole premise for this show in itself is that potential that we carry within ourselves. I believe that it is that infinite place. And we all have something that makes us uniquely who we are. And with that, like, every single person has a story that somebody else could hear and go, I had no idea. I had no idea that you had been through that. And that is a testament to who we are and how we show things. And, sometimes like us carrying it all inside, like we do need to have that place to let it out. And whatever that looks like, whether that's, a space like this, whether that is on a platform, whether that's in a journal and you're just throwing it all out and, as if you're talking to somebody, it's so important because it needs to be out. The more that we keep it inside of here, the less likely it is to be able to overcome it in a way that's going to empower us. It's going to keep carrying forward. And like, the more that I've learned over the years of how our body holds our emotions, the way our mind works, and like, there are things that our mind does that can bring up past places that can be helpful. And then there's other parts that it's just totally harmful. It's like, here we keep going through this, repeating cycles because there's something that, one, we still need to gain from it. And, two, we put ourselves in these repeating cycles because that's what we're used to. And there's so many reasons that go along, of why we're used to them. But breaking that cycle, it takes work. Like I'd like to talk about how, our mind is no different than our body when it comes to like, if people work out and you see the results from going to the gym and what's going to happen when you stop. Our mind is the same way. If we stop putting in that work, whatever that work looks like for ourselves, then the growth becomes stagnant again. And, I once heard somebody say like there's no such thing as stagnation. Like you're either moving forward or you're reverting backwards. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. I did that long enough. Like, finally actually standing up for myself and, going after what it is that makes me me. It's, like it's taken me, it was a couple years ago to like actually embrace like, hey, this is how I'm going to live my life. And I have to put, earmuffs on what other people think and what that looks like. And I believe you kind of have a similar story in that as well.
Yeah, just the self-doubt that people, like my stepdad that raised me, it was just, like those voices, you'll never amount to nothing. So you always hear that in the back of your head. You're never going to do nothing. You're a black sheep, and then my first husband, it was the same kind of thing. Like nobody wants you. You have 3 kids, all that whole stuff. So you just feel like you're so, and those words aren't just words, maybe to some people, but to other people it cuts, it's like a knife, especially when it's coming from people that love you. Mm-hmm. And I think that has just been such the hardest thing, as you always, and I still, to this day, I still get those moments when I'm like, crap, maybe I don't have this. But then, like you said, that's when you go back and I like, look, I'm going to go help somebody. I'm going to go look in my journal and see what did I do on this day? I'm very good at writing stuff down. I could write a book. But it's really good that I write this stuff to reflect on, and just knowing that when I'm feeling those low points where I feel like, okay, it's, I'm not enough. I'm not a good mom. I didn't spend enough time with my kids or, growing up my older three, because I was just so focused on finally getting me back after that marriage and trying to find myself. And I still didn't really find myself until later on in life, when I became really, independent and not really wanting to need a man in my life. That's always been my thing. I don't want to have to depend on anybody. I want to be able to take care of myself, to prove to myself, and yes, to those people that said I couldn't do it. And yeah, that's not good for me to do, but I was doing it for myself in the long run. And just knowing that, I shared this on one of the awards I won with my company. Um, I didn't know I was going to win number one. And then they put the camera, the Zoom right on you. And I shared a little bit of my testimony, and people, I mean, literally hundreds. I had so many people want to follow me, so many people want to be my friends, asking me questions. Oh, like you said, people don't know your story,
Yeah.
and what your story is so much, your why is so much to people, don't hold it back. And I think that's what people do, is they're so scared to share, if they're going to judge them, if they're your real friend or real anything. And I think you need to share your why. You need to share, what do you want in life? What do you expect in relationships too? Don't waste time on people that don't give you time.
Yeah.
I in marriage and in friendships, we all have, quote unquote friends, but are they really your friends? You know, um, it's good to have people, positive people, and surround yourself with people that want to see you grow. I think
Yeah.
that's really important, not people that just are, talk behind your back, or just, are the, what do you call the weather? I don't know what you call the friend that only there when they want something, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's where that to me has been and still is something that I've been working through, is that I have held certain friendships, people like I could have like the third grade best friend, and that to me is like, you're still up here, and it's just like, it's taken me a really long time to go, it's not the same for everybody. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that somebody, has drifted that way. It's okay that our lives have drifted apart. That is okay. And that's not a reflection of me. That is just, we're different people and we are all going to do different things. And, to part of what you're saying is like, even with doing this and starting this show, part of me was like, that voice, that internal voice of, the ego voice going, ah, you can't do this. Nope. Who are you to do this? Why are you doing this? However, behind the scenes, this has been something for me that has been years in the making. And I kept putting it over here. Like I'd started and I'm like, oh no, and so it's just like, we don't know how much effort it took for somebody to actually put that, that foot forward. And I'm like, I love seeing people grow. I love it to my core to go, oh my gosh, like seeing somebody, and especially when you do know that story, knowing that like, I know what it took you to come out there. But even if I don't, you know what, I'm going to play a story in my head that maybe like this was one of the hardest moments for you, pressing that button and, being there and being in front of people and just speaking your truth, running a business, putting a podcast out, starting something new, whatever it is, starting a new relationship, maybe it's coming out when you're like 42 years old. Who knows? Like, who knows? Whatever that is, it's people don't know how much it took to do that. And it's just I admire that. Like I admire it in myself, and I will tell myself like, hey, you've done a damn good job at, picking the pieces back up, showing back up. And maybe it's a day that I don't feel like I did. And then I have grace and it's like, hey, you know what? Not every day is going to be exactly what I want it to be. But to me, it's always exactly what I need it to be, because there's always something in there. And like, I'm the person that grasps onto everything as, like I said, growth. So like there's that momentum to be able to be built on from growth. And so, for me to go through things, that has been the place that I've been able to like pull from and get to. So like, I just, yeah, like growth and seeing people grow and, hearing somebody's story, that gets me. So on a story, what what would you tell younger you?
Don't fall in love. The person you would like at 15 years old is not going to be the one that's going to be with you forever. 80% of the time. No. I think to an extent we need to follow our heart and what we want. I would tell myself just to don't listen to nobody. Follow your own heart. You know what you want, and don't be afraid to ask and go after what you want. I think if I made that decision back in my teenage years when I was going through an early marriage and being a young parent at 16, I would have saved a lot of heartache and I would have saved myself. But then again, I have the other two kids with him, so I can't say that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would have did something. Towards the end of that marriage, I was just like, I got to go to college. I got to do something for myself. And that's what I started doing. And I snuck around. I went to college and he didn't know that. And I was doing something for me while he was at work and the kids were at school. I went to college. So I'm like, I'm doing something I was getting a little bit of my life back and then a little independent. So I was setting myself up. So I think I would have told myself, don't listen to nobody, you can do it. Don't even listen to yourself, because sometimes we are our biggest critic. I can't do, just like you said, I can't do a podcast, I can't do this. Look at you did a podcast now and you got books out and you're doing so much of coaching, and I'm like, I love seeing that growth with you. And it's just like you said, when we've grown, well, I know both of us have grown so much. I mean, shoot, if we knew what we were going to be doing these days, back when we were fighting over the boy or whatever, back in the day, or 15 years old, 14 years old. I mean, who would have thunk that we'd be where we are today? And I think it's only made us stronger, everything we've been through. Like you said, growth. And I think that's the biggest thing, is growing from all this, from the bad things that's happened to us, getting over the hump. Everybody's going to go through obstacles. And I think it's just how we learn to face them, and having an army behind us, or on the side of us, I should say, holding our hand and being there and showing one another that we have each other's back. I think that's where it is that I would choose better friends.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have joined a gang. I wouldn't have did half the stuff, did drugs. I wouldn't have did everything I've done. But that's what made me who I am today. You know what I mean? And I don't regret any of it. It just made me the stronger person. Like I said, I could love sharing my testimony with people. And that's just my biggest thing, is that because if I can do it, they can do it.
Yeah.
And there's people worse, tons of worse off than me and you have ever been. You know what I mean?
Well,
but if I could give them something,
Yeah. Well, and that's where I feel like, one of the things in the last few years that I started to notice is that, like we've all been through things. And when it comes to what's been traumatic for us, there is no gauge for that. Like, what's traumatic for you is traumatic for you. Like I went and listened to like this show, and this woman was talking, and her trauma was very, like, most people around were kind of like, that's not really that traumatic. I'm like, yeah, but that's not traumatic for you. Like, that's not something for you. You can't gauge somebody else's trauma. You cannot. Like, how she chose to pick herself up and move on, like that to me, and just hearing her speak, that was strength in what she was talking about, and where she had to go and where she went, next. So it doesn't matter, what level it was on for, somebody else sitting out in the audience, because to each person, it's still going to hit hard. And, and what happens next is going to be very personal, and that's their journey. And that's, that growth. And, like you said, and for me, like, there's nothing in my life that I would change and go back. There are things that I'm like, man, I wish I would have thought a little bit longer. Like, I wish I would have taken a few minutes to go, what are you doing? But I didn't, because in that moment, I was doing what I felt was best for me. And like the book that changed my life, like the 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, like hands down my favorite book. But one of those is like, it's to always do your best, but it's also understanding that everybody else is always doing their best. And I've said that to people and like gotten into arguments because they're like, well, somebody else is doing their best. I'm like, yeah, because that's not your best. That's not where you would come from. But in that moment, somebody's doing the best that they can. They're showing up in the best way that they know possible in that moment. That doesn't mean it's the best that they can do. It just means in that moment, that's the best choice that they feel that they want to make. And so, with us, when you go through things, whatever choice that looks like for you in that journey, like, that's why I look back and go, I can't have regrets. To me, having regrets puts me back in that past place. And I'm very much a future forward facing person. And so, like, I want to look out and see, like, I'm the dreamer. I'm looking at everything, this month down the road and this month, and like coming up with all these plans. My thing kind of falls short sometimes when it comes in the execution and the details, but it's there. It's like, that's why I love doing vision boards. That's why I love like helping people with that big vision and breaking it down into the smaller pieces, because having that future forward place to look at is really, it to me has been key in my healing. So on that note, like, for your next few years, like, do you have a year goal, 2-year goal, 5-year goal where you see yourself, any of those?
Of course, I've always want to strive for more. To be honest, not a plug for my business, but kind
No,
of,
absolutely. Plug away.
I joined a well-known beauty brand named Avon. I'm sure 135 years, everybody knows who the hell they are. That was my home. And that was what really helped me start setting goals. And I had an accountability partner, one of my mentors, and I had my best friend join with me in the company. So I had, my best friend with me, and then I had a mentor. So I had somebody to coach me and show me, okay, what do I want? Somebody want to know what I want. You know what I mean? And having her just put me on the spot, which I hate being put in the spot, I still do. But making me feel accountable helped me start setting goals and seeing that I have a future. I have a future in helping people. And that's what made me realize, you know what, I'm done feeling sorry, the whole pity party for myself. Yeah, I still get them once in a while, but not every 50 times a day,
Yeah.
like I was before, really depressed. And I want to be, continue with my company. I'm going to hit a national ranking title, 3 national ranking titles, number 1, 3, and number 8. And this was all within my first year and year and a half in the company, by bringing people together and being a leader and being a positive person. And that's what I want. I want to help more people show what they're capable of. And it doesn't have to be in a business. It could be in their own personal life, and helping them show that they're worthy of so much more. And that's what I want. I want to be known for something other than the screw ups I've done in my life. She was a teenage parent. I want to be known for helping people. I want, when I pass away, I want to have a celebration. I want people to say that, Rebecca did this. She tried everything she did, and she was such a wonder. I want to be known as that person. And I want my kids to see that, to know, to be open to helping people, to know, to not be selfish in life. And that's one of my biggest things is I want to be I don't know how to say it. I want to be known as someone that helps people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I never want to get into social work because I've done that with my kids and marriage, and that was such a headache, but God bless them, I do that. But I want to be the cheerleader for people. I love doing that. And I want to see myself be able to do things I've never had, like fear. I have a lot of fear, flying on airplanes. And I've been doing it ever since I joined this company because that's all we do. I'm earning all these trips. I got to go, right? Yeah. So facing those fears and crossing off those goals off my list of saying, okay, I want to do a certain amount of sales. I want to bring a certain amount of people into the company. I want to help 15 people this month. Just seeing myself cross off any little goal is just I'm so humble. I'm so excited that every time I get to do that or help somebody, it feels so good. And my long-term goal would be to maybe get into psychology or something. I did want to do it. And first few semesters, I was self-diagnosing myself. And it scared me. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to get into this because I think I have bipolar. I think I have all these mental illnesses, because I was learning a lot about myself at that time too. But I really do love helping people. And I think that's my calling, is just, my business is just a vehicle that we sell products or whatever, but it's how we make people feel and the confidence you get. And that's where it came from. My confidence came from building a team and having an amazing team and helping these women and some men become something. And if it's just put a smile on somebody's face, that's my goal. That's what I've done my due diligence and made somebody happy. I made somebody feel good.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, what I was hearing from you and where you see that going, and you are already embodying that version. And every time you have that vision of yourself in that place, and being able to be that person that you want people to reflect on, it helps us show up as that every day. When we have a very strong foundation for where it is that we, see ourselves, that energy pulls into now. And as that energy pulls into now, we become what it is that, we're looking to become. It there's no waiting. Like, there's no, like, when I get to this level, I'll feel like this. Well, there's no reason why we have to stop ourselves from doing that. There may be some little blocks that we need to kind of like go through and go, hey, like, I've got to kind of navigate through here so I can get into that energy. But that energy is, it's, you can see it as you're talking. It's there, it's pulling forward. It's in everything that you're saying. You want to pull that forward. And that helping people, yes, you're already doing it, and it'll continue to pull you to what that journey will look like next. And that's what I think is so beautiful about life, is that, anytime I start something going, okay, like, like I said, I have that big picture dream, and then something like pulls me in a way that I'm like, oh, I didn't see that. And that's the magic. To me, that's that magic. These things connect in ways that it's just like, I'm a big believer in signs. I'm a big believer that there's no such thing as coincidences. We're pulled and connected to the people that we're meant to. We find, connections in the beauty of life around us. But that's also because, we sit in that energy of believing in that, and believing in ourselves is believing in that sense of possibility. And I absolutely love that, because you'll get pulled into somewhere that you didn't see yet, because you have that in you have that feeling and that pull. I believe that, like, we are all given these gifts, and and I think some of those, they start with us when we're really young, and depending on how our life is going, we're not always, going to go in that same path in that direction. We've got to kind of loop back and go take different couple roads, and maybe a highway in a different state. Who knows? Like, there's a lot of things that get involved, but ultimately it's always there. That's where we have that like nagging going, hey, like, in that pull, like, hey, you should come over here and, try this. And it's just like following that nudge of like going there, and, seeing that you've hit these milestones in your business, and, hitting these places that sound like they came pretty effortlessly for you in some senses. Your belief in yourself, you knew you could do these things. And so these things, that's what happens, like that belief in ourselves, and we attract that back to us. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful place to be. So with that, like, how can people connect to you if they would, want to connect after we're done here?
Of course, on Facebook. Diva That Blings, it's my handle for pretty much everything. I'm always open to meeting new people and getting to know people's stories. I love hearing people's stories. And that's one of my biggest things, just talk shows from back in the day. Remember, people used to watch, just hearing like stuff like that. It's just like, and then sometimes you reflect like, God, I remember I was in that situation too. And then you could tell them, you know what, I can help you, and just build relationships with people. I'm all about meeting new people. So message me, find me on any of on Instagram, TikTok. I really just screw around with, but I'm just love social media, and I love being out here, being able to share my story and my why. And I'm really excited that Summer had me as a guest, and I feel so honored and special. And it was good to reconnect with her. And I just love seeing her your progress has been so amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, what is she doing next? I'm so excited for you, because you're just like you say, it's hard for you to execute things. I'm the same way. And I'm so proud to see you're like, kicking butt, kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta like,
bite the bullet.
My strategy in business is just do it. Like, just do it. It doesn't matter if it's messy. Like, messy action is better than no action at all. And when I'm feeling it, the best thing I can do is throw it out there. And, then it's out there in the world. And I'm like, okay, can't pull it back to me now. It's out there, and just go with it and let it be. So that's pretty much how the last few years of, getting into coaching, going from health coaching and getting, couple certifications in that, then, going through like life coaching and, all these other like different modalities, it all just flowed. And because I love learning. So the same way of like, whatever comes next. I am definitely kind of like that, not the shiny object person, but I'm kind of saying like, I'm that like, oh, there's another way I could help people. I could help myself in this process and learn more. Like I need that. Like, I can tell you like the next thing for me is probably going to be getting a breathwork certification. And like this past weekend, I had the worst anxiety attack that I have ever had. And, and just trying to remember how to breathe and do all that. I'm like, yep, that's definitely my next certification because like I know how to breathe, I know how to calm myself down. But in this moment, there wasn't a whole lot helping. And so it's just like, being able to do that for myself and learn that, and then being able to take that and implement that into what I do is a lot of fun. So to me, that's that creative piece of, yeah, like it's the journey is incredible, and life can be absolutely beautiful, but it also can be a beautiful mess when we take advantage of having that. And we do all have a story that comes in there, and like, my story I'll continue to share over time, and being able to share that in a way that, like you said, it's just, you never know who's listening, you never know who's watching. And one thing that starts in the home, knowing that we have people who are relying on us, that are listening and hearing every word. And then as well as like on another level is being out there and hearing that one person that said, also that one person who may have never liked anything that you've ever put out, may have ever talked to you, but then all of a sudden one day they go, you have no idea how much like I look forward to hearing you. And it's just like, oh, thank you. Like, and it's those moments like that I'm like, it's very, it hits me every single time like that I've had somebody say something like that to me, because you don't know. And sometimes you may never know what you meant to somebody's life, just as well as there's people who have meant the world to my life that probably don't know it. But on that note, I will say that over the last 5 years, well, one thing that is important to me is that nothing in my life is taken for granted. So it's like, telling somebody that you appreciate them, and that can mean the world, just as well as like, I truly appreciate that you're on here today, that, this being the first show and doing this and having that, sharing your time and energy with me means the world to me as well.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And so with that, yes, we will end this here. And I truly, truly appreciate your time. And yeah, and look forward to chatting again and seeing what comes up next for you. And I will put all your links in my descriptions as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Summer, for having me. Thank you, everybody, for watching us. Continue your success, girlfriend. I believe in you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.